Commissioner Werblin,
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews,
Present.
Commissioner Greavy,
Present.
Commissioner Reese,
Present.
Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
and Commissioner Paul. Commissioner Paul, if you can hear us, can you please note that you are present?
Yes, I'm present via Zoom.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Greavy, will you please lead us in the pledge tonight?
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Information on providing public comments. Persons wishing to address the Planning Commission on subjects not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission, provided that no action be taken on off-agenda items except as authorized by law. Off-agenda items from the public will be taken under consideration without discussion by the Commission and may be referred to staff. Comments will be accepted in person or via Zoom. Public comment instructions. To speak on an agenda item in person, please complete a speaker's card and give it to the secretary before the meeting, or at the latest prior to the time for public comments on that item. When joining via Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 on your phone to request to speak. You will be called on by name and will have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, now we'll do approval of agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are not.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
A second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to approve the agenda. And since we have Commissioner Paul online, we will do voice votes tonight. So, Ms. Sheehan, maybe we have a roll call vote, please.
Of course. Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Werblin,
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews,
Approve.
Commissioner Greavy,
I was here for that one, yes.
No,
approved.
it's agenda.
This is the agenda.
Just the agenda, okay.
Commissioner Reese,
Approve.
Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
and Commissioner Paul.
Yes, approved.
Thank you. The motion passes. Now we'll do approval of the minutes for May 28th, 2025. Are there any changes to the minutes?
There are not.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I have a question. How do we deal with the June 11th?
We'll get to that.
Well, it's on here, though.
We do them separately.
Okay, so this is for the
May
May
28th.
28th. Okay. Motion to approve.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as submitted. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Werblin,
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews,
Approve.
Commissioner Greavy,
Approve.
Commissioner Reese,
Approve.
Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
and Commissioner Paul.
Approved.
Thank you. The motion passes. Now, approval of the minutes for June 11th, 2025. Are there any changes to the minutes of June 11th?
There are no changes, and our legal counsel here has informed me that although some of you or all of you were not present, you still can take action. You can still make a vote on this item.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as submitted. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Werblin,
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews,
Approve.
Commissioner Greavy,
Approve.
Commissioner Reese,
Approve.
Commissioner Singh,
Approved.
and Commissioner Paul.
Approved.
Thank you. The motion passes. Now we'll go on to public comments, and this is the time for the public to speak on items not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. I will now open the public comment period. We have no speaker cards for public comments. And do we have any speakers on Zoom? I don't see any. Okay. I will now close the public comment period. Now, next on the agenda is scheduled matters. For each agendized item, there will be a presentation by city staff. For items that involve application requests, I will ask the applicant to address the commission if they so desire. Then I will open the comment period via Zoom and in-house. I will close the comment period after all comments have been provided and after all our questions regarding the testimony during the comment period have been answered. Then after the comment period is closed, the commission will deliberate on the item and may have additional questions for staff. We cannot take additional testimony or questions from the public after the comment period is closed. So now we'll go to item A, a continued public hearing at the request of the City of Fairfield for the Planning Commission to review capital projects program for fiscal year 2025 and 2026, consistent with the general plan. Our presenters are Jonathan Atkinson and David Vaughn.
Good evening, Chair and Planning Commission. Tonight, I will ask you to find the city's capital projects program consistent with the general plan for fiscal year 2025 to 2026. The general plan is the blueprint for meeting the long-term comprehensive vision for the city. The city recently adopted a new general plan in December 2024. As you know, California state law requires that the Planning Commission review the city's capital projects program for conformance with the general plan on an annual basis. Fiscal year 25 to 26 includes 11 capital projects to be facilitated by the city's Public Works Department. The capital projects fall under two general categories. The first category is public infrastructure, facility and equipment maintenance, repair and upgrades. These projects range from an expansion of the North Bay Regional Water Treatment Plant to the relocation of utility connections in the downtown. The second category is transportation, maintenance, repair, and upgrades. And these projects include or range from the widening of Vanden Road to pavement maintenance throughout the city. The projects are consistent with the following general plan elements. These include land use and urban design, circulation, public facilities and services, open space, conservation and recreation, and economic development. Staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt Resolution PC 2025-02, which finds the capital improvement program for fiscal year 2025 to 2026 consistent with the general plan. My colleague, David Vaughn of Public Works, and myself, we'd be happy to answer any questions that the Planning Commission has on this review. Thank you.
All right, now it's time for questions. Please hold any of the questions that you have on deliberation until after that. This is any questions we have for staff right now. So we'll start with Commissioner Paul.
Yes, the only question I got is the last annexure to the report. It says North Bay Regional Water Treatment Plant expansion, and it says it's going to be completed in year 2026 and it's still going on. And I was wondering, I don't even really recollect how much are we spending on this plant expansion, and since it's being completed next year, 2026. And just for my knowledge, it doesn't say the amount we are spending in 2025 and 2026.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just wanted to note, I think I understood your question. You're asking about the timing of the treatment plant expansion, and you're asking about the costs? As far as the...
Exactly.
Okay.
For the other projects, it does give us the total cost and total spending in each year, but for this, the very first project, it doesn't tell us how much we are spending this year and next year while it will be completed.
Yeah, so the project that is on the CIP is essentially for design scoping services. And as far as the timing and the cost goes, I will, don't mean to call David Vong up. He may be able to provide a little bit more information on the potential costs.
Sure.
So we only got design scope right now. Right now we're working on West Shoals. Right now we're just scoping the project. Cost is still to be determined, but we budgeted roughly about $50 million for construction.
Okay, okay.
Thank you. Any further questions, Commissioner Paul?
No, I'm good.
Thank you. Commissioner Singh?
Yes, I do. I believe that we are, I believe that we are on the same page about this, but this really is a point of clarification. So on Exhibit A of the staff report, the second to last project is the Mancus Boulevard, I can never say that right, distribution main replacement. This is in reference to Mancus Boulevard that runs parallel or semi-parallel to Waterman, right, within the city of Fairfield, not Mancus within the county?
It's within city limits, the Mancus Boulevard stretch.
Let me get back to you on that. I'm actually not involved in that project, but I could talk to the water team and
Thank you.
respond to you. Yep.
Commissioner Reese?
No questions.
Commissioner Greavy?
Well, I have a question and a comment, but I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time. But you can shut me down, and I'll bring it up later. So, when I see that we have paving for Woolner, Gregory, Gateway, Pennsylvania, Alaska, Webster, and the Auto Park Mall, to a tune of $11 million, I'm sure that that's what it's going to cost. I don't have a question there, but I have a concern. We have Cement Hill that is in much, much worse condition than any of those streets, with a greater degree of chance of someone getting injured on that piece of roadway that runs from Peabody up to, Claybank, that section. I understand, I know what your comment is going to be, so I'm going to do it for you, and that is, well, as soon as a builder can come in there and spend the money, we'll fix the road. I think that's a ridiculous way of taking care of our citizens, because that piece of roadway is truly dangerous, and it is used a great deal and getting worse as we continue to expand out in the One Lake area. What can we do about Cement Hill?
We have our senior civil engineer, Alvin Lay, coming to answer the question.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Alvin Lay, and I'm the Senior Development Engineer for the Public Works Engineering Department. Great comment and question from you, Commissioner Greavy. Just wanted to provide a little bit of context and a little bit of explanation for Cement Hill Road. So we understand that Cement Hill Road is a very critical roadway, and the train station specific plan that was adopted back in 2014 is a testament to how the city plans and intends to improve several major public roadway infrastructure. Now, you're most likely aware that the train station specific plan was created and adopted at the same time as the Northeast Fee Study, which basically establishes the cost to improve those roads. Now, you made a point that the roadway will be built by a builder, and that's partially correct. These roadways are typically necessitated by continued growth in the specific plan, meaning the roadways are built to support the continued growth and development in that area. Now, knowing that the ideal scenario is to make sure that those roads are built prior to development coming in, the Northeast Fee Study is basically set up in two ways. One, it establishes impact fees that are assessed citywide, and when the city collects enough revenue to pay for those improvements, the city will take on the effort to build those public roadways. Now, that takes a little bit of time, and it takes effort to once we get the funding, to put the plans together and subsequently construct the road. Typically what happens for the second scenario is the builder would come in, they would generate the need and the demand for that roadway, and they'd work together with the city to phase the public improvements needed to, one, support their development, but also to provide that benefit for the city overall. So there, in short, there's two scenarios. One is the city collects enough revenue with the impact fees that was established by the Northeast Fee Study, or if a builder comes first and necessitates that roadway and expedites its need sooner, then we'll work with them to get it built then.
Thank you.
Okay, that's a great explanation. When are we going to fix the problem?
As soon as we can. As soon as we
Council says so.
Yeah. As soon as we collect enough revenue and or if a builder comes in.
Have we done a
the
traffic study out there to see how many automobiles are traveling that road on a daily basis?
Yes, so as part of the 2014 train station specific plan, an environmental impact report was assessed, which included trip generations and traffic volumes, et cetera, both citywide, but it considers impacts citywide as well as impacts generated by the Northeast developments.
Has a study been done recently to see what the traffic count is currently?
Yes, so the traffic assessments are updated fairly frequently as development continues. And even with the most recent trip assessment, the volumes of growth for Cement Hill Road are not at a level yet that necessitates that demand earlier. So said in a different way, Cement Hill Road from Peabody West to Claybank Road, that fronts planning area 1 of the train station specific plan. So when developers come in directly along that frontage, there is a very specific demand for the developers to widen the roadway in order to support their development. For example, back in 2020, 2021, we had a property owner come in and apply for entitlements within Planning Area 1, and as part of their development, this one didn't abut Cement Hill Road specifically, but it did abut a portion of Peabody Road, and one of the conditions of that development was to widen Peabody Road along there, or it still is, to widen Peabody Road along their frontage. So as we receive developments within Planning Area 1, we are committing these obligations onto the developers because it generates the need for the roadway widening.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Matthews.
Just to be clear, if for the issue that Commissioner Greavy brought up, if the developer starts a project, then that project will be activated and you'll have the source of funding for it, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So I'm familiar with the apartment project that we approved some time ago, and my request is that at an appropriate time, not now, we have an update, because I understand there are some delays and some issues associated with that project. No other questions at this time.
Thank you. Commissioner Werblin?
Good evening. Are there any funding from the Community Development Block Grant that's covering any of these projects? And I can't recall if there's any infrastructure request or applications for Community Development Block Grants as well for infrastructure.
No, there's no CDBG funding for these projects on the list, and we didn't apply for anything in the future. Right now, we're working on the Liba restrooms, that's CDBG funded, and curb ramps along Acacia.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I just have one. A resident corralled me over the weekend, and it doesn't have to do with this, but along with Commissioner Gray, Lopes Road. It's on the 25-26 capital improvement, if the FEMA money ends up coming through, will this then be reevaluated and put on there? Or are the Cordelia residents looking 27, 28 before that road is fixed?
Is that one you want to get?
Yeah, I'll get back to you. That's one of the other engineers working on it.
Okay, thank you. Not a week goes by that I'm not asked about that, so thank you. All right, I will now open the public hearing. I do not have any cards, and I do not show any hands showing. So I will close the public hearing. And staff, would you like to respond to any of the issues raised by us?
No, thank you. The responses were provided, and for items that we didn't have answers for today, we'll circle back with
All right,
updates.
thank you. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-2?
I would like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-2.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution. Ms. Sheehan, maybe have the roll call vote.
Yes. Commissioner Kennedy?
Yes.
Commissioner Warblin?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Greavy?
Yes.
Commissioner Reese?
Yes.
Commissioner Singh?
Yes.
Commissioner Paul? Commissioner Paul, I'm sorry, we cannot hear you.
I said yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
All right, the motion passes. Now, our next item is item B, a continued public hearing on the request by Cameron Dart of the Danco Group to rezone a parcel with a base zoning of regional commercial to mixed commercial to support the development of a permanent supportive housing project consisting of converting an existing hotel into housing units located at 3331 North Texas Street. Our presenter is Yilin Wong.
Chair Kennedy, I will have to recuse myself from this item as there is a conflict of interest.
Thank you.
So I just want to make it clear.
Appreciate that.
Good evening, Chair and Planning Commissioners. My name is Yilin Wong, and I will be presenting the zone change application to rezone 3331 North Texas Street from regional commercial to mixed commercial. The applicant proposes to amend the zoning map to rezone 3331 North Texas Street from CR to CM, which is regional commercial to mixed commercial. For context, 3331 North Texas Street is across from the Raleigh Shopping Center on North Texas, and it is abutting the Highway 80 on the west. For some background information, this zone change application came about as Housing Department is working with the developer applicant, Danco Group, on a permanent supportive housing project funded through Home Key Plus, which is from the California Department of Housing and Community Development. The tenant target population of this Home Key Plus project is the general homeless population with behavioral and mental health challenges, as well as homeless veterans. There will be roughly 50 units, according to them. They might have a better estimate if you want to ask them. But again, this is just some background information. The action today is just for the zone change itself and not for any of the tenant improvements. Oops, sorry. So the reason for this zone change application is because the CR zoning district does not currently permit residential land uses. However, the CM zoning district does. The zone change from CR to CM is consistent with the general plan land use designation of highway and regional commercial and would effectively allow this parcel to add residential land uses. The zone change serves as, the zone change is in the public interest as it is permanent supportive housing, and that's it for this slide. This project is exempt from CEQA under section 15061B3 common sense exemption, as this applies to projects that don't have potential for causing a significant effect on the environment. Again, to reiterate, there are no physical changes proposed as part of this project. This is solely the zone change. And with that, staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt Resolution PC 2025-3, recommending the Planning Commission, or recommending to City Council the approval of zone change to rezone the property at 3331 North Texas Street from CR to CM. Thank you, and I will take any questions or comments you may have.
Great, thank you. Now it's time for staff questions. Please hold your comments or deliberations on the item until after the public hearing. Do any members of the commission have questions for staff? We'll start with Commissioner Paul.
No questions yet.
Thank you. Commissioner Reese?
Not currently. I'm going to wait.
Makes sense.
Commissioner Matthews?
When do we expect to see the actual proposal for this project?
I'll defer to the developer on that for timing on construction and application.
We'll call you up in a second.
That's all.
For these proposed zone changes, if it's approved, is it in perpetuity, or is this for a certain number of years, depending upon developers and application and approval? And then if that doesn't happen, is it rescinded? Can you share a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, good question. It is in perpetuity unless we get another zone change or we amend the map again.
Thank you.
Thank you. I had the same question as Commissioner Matthews about the tenant improvements and stuff and when that'll come. That's where all my questions will come back to. So I will now open the public hearing. I do not have any cards on it. No hands. So we'll go ahead and close. Oh, okay. Well, I'll keep it open right now. The applicant, if you would like to speak. Thank you.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. Just thought I'd take a moment to introduce myself. I'm Cameron Dart with Danco Communities, representing the applicant developer. I'm the project manager, and Chris Dart, our president, is also available via Zoom. Thank you for your time and consideration this evening. We're excited about the potential to convert the hotel into permanent supportive housing. I believe the project is well aligned with the city's general plan and housing element goals. Also proud to be working in partnership with Latan and his team in housing services and under the Home Key Plus program, here to answer any technical questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you.
So when do we expect you will come back with an actual proposal for the project?
Yeah, we're finalizing our design and intend to have a submittal in by the end of this month, and then we will come back to Planning Commission for the design review process.
Any other questions for the applicant? Commissioner Paul?
Yeah, no questions yet.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
I do just want to make one quick clarification. When Danco was ready to submit at the end of the month, it sounds like it's not an issue, but depending on the scope of work, there is a possibility that that project will not be in front of this board. So if the scope of work is simply interior renovations and minor site improvements, it will be handled at a lower level, purely by planning staff and then through our building division permit review process. If it is a larger scope, if they make substantial changes, if they demo the building, add new buildings, et cetera, assuming it passes the threshold for square footage, then it would come back to the Planning Commission.
Yeah, and just to add to that, thanks, Mealy. At this time, the proposal is minor rehabilitation with no foreseen improvements that would fall outside of what Mealy described, but that'll be the staff's determination at that time.
Can I make a request that if it is approved at the staff level, we also please give us an update about that, just because I think it's a project all of us have a lot of interest in and support to see come to fruition.
Yes, of course. And
Thank
I
you.
will also add, if you are not already signed up for our weekly submittal list, feel free to shoot me an email and we will put you on that mailing list at the end of every week. We send out a list to everyone on that membership of all the applications we received. So that would give you some knowledge of when Danco has submitted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll now close the public hearing and return to commission for deliberations. Do I have a motion to approve resolution PC 2025-3?
I motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution. Ms. Sheehan, may we please have the roll call vote?
Yes, and I apologize. Who was the second?
Matthews.
Thank you. You guys went quick on me there. All right. For the roll call, Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Werblin,
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews,
Yes.
Commissioner Greavy,
Yes.
Commissioner Reese,
Approve.
and Commissioner Paul.
Yes.
The item passes. Thank you, Mead. Okay, now our next item is item C, a public hearing on the request by Christian Torres on behalf of EAH Housing to develop a 2.33 acre site with a 67-unit multifamily affordable housing complex and associated improvements at 212 East Tabor Avenue. Our presenter is Melissa Fryer. Welcome.
Hello. Sorry. Good evening, members of the Planning Commission and general public. My name is Melissa Fryer, and I will be presenting the Tabor Commons Development Review to you guys this evening. Okay. So the project is located at 212 East Tabor near North Texas, Mid-Fair Plaza, and the Linear Park Trail. The parcel is approximately 2.33 acres and is currently vacant. The general plan and zoning land use designation is residential high density. The project site is primarily surrounded by other multifamily developments apart from the Linear Park and 7-Eleven convenience store. The proposed use is an 100% affordable multifamily housing development consisting of 2 buildings with a total of 67 units, 90 parking spaces, resident amenities that include a 1,535 square foot community room with kitchen, a laundry room, children's play area, picnic and barbecue areas, quiet seating areas, and bicycle storage. The applicant is requesting a density bonus under California's density bonus law. It is eligible for an 80% density increase. Under the zoning ordinance, it's permitted for 52 units. The density bonus law grants the project 92 units. However, they're only proposing 67. They're also eligible for 4 concessions, and they are asking to waiver the private open space requirements. The alternative family development regulations require 80 square feet of private open space on the first floor and 48 square feet on upper units. They would like to waiver this requirement considering the amount of common open space provided and access to the linear trail, which will connect to the future North Texas recreational facility. Staff supports this concession and recommends approval of the request. So the site will be accessed from 3 entry points on East Tabor, which includes 2 driveways and 1 gated pedestrian point. There will also be gated access to the Linear Park Trail with a lock. A 6-foot wrought iron fence will border the parcel and building frontage on East Tabor. Here are the building elevations for Building A. The architecture is a contemporary design that incorporates board and batten siding. varied roof lines, stepped wall planes, metal railing, and contrasting colors to create an aesthetically pleasing and visually interesting building facade. It also has a courtyard design to feel private from the surrounding area, while also creating a great spot for neighbors to gather and build a sense of community. Here are the Building B elevations. Here's the landscape plan. The project will feature a variety of plant species that will enhance the project site as well as serve practical purposes. There's a total of 101 trees proposed, of which 18 will be planted on the East Tabor frontage. Large shade trees will also be provided in the common space areas. As part of approval, we've conditioned an affordability covenant for very low and low-income units for a minimum of 55 years and some basic site improvements. The project is exempt under CEQA guideline 15194, the affordable housing exemption, in that it has a small development footprint. There are no environmentally sensitive plants or animals present. It's consistent with the city general plan. It's pretty much urban infill, and we have conditioned for it to record an affordability covenant. So with that, staff recommends that Planning Commission adopt Resolution PC 2025-4, granting the approval of the development and environmental review. This concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to take any questions or comments.
Thank you. Okay, now it's time for staff questions. Please hold your comments or deliberations on the item until after the public hearing is closed. We will start with comments. Commissioner Paul.
Yes, I do have a couple questions and from the staff. First, I would say it's a nice presentation, and I think it was earlier approved in 2019. And I have a question: what went wrong with that project? And are this company is the same who is planning this time, or it's a different company who's taking over?
So if I understood your question correctly, you're asking what was the delay?
Say it again.
So I'll invite my applicant up to speak to that.
Okay, you are not the applicant.
Or the housing department.
The second question
Sorry.
is, okay.
I'm Latan Jones, Director of Housing Services. The delay for the project has to do with the actual funding. We've gone out for state funding a number of times, and the project was not successful with the state funding just because of the scoring criteria. The city has gotten a pro-housing designation and otherwise in order to try to increase its chances of being able to have a more successful application. I am not the applicant, but I am the Director of Housing, so I do know some information about this particular project. And so the funding was the reason for the delay in this project.
No, thank you.
Okay.
And my second question with the staff is, have you done the survey of demand and supply? If I know it's not a great. I've been to East Tabor so many times. It's not a very great neighborhood. And can we see how many houses or apartments are sitting vacant in the vicinity, or have we done any of those surveys?
Vacancy rates of the city?
The vacancy rate of the city, the average vacancy rate is about 4%. In the city right now, which is pretty low. Typically, 5 to 7% is generally what's projected when we're doing projects. But right now, this city is at about 4%. So it's a pretty low vacancy rate. And we run a Section 8 program as well, so it's not really easy for residents to be able to actually find vacant properties. this point.
Thank you.
My question came since if we find out there is not 100% occupancy in the vicinity, so why we are putting up another building next door to have more residences? That was the base of my question.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Commissioner Ball, can you ask that
That's
again,
not a
please, a little
normal
bit slower?
Sorry.
We had a little break up there with the sound. Commissioner Paul, can you please re-ask that
Yes, I'm
question?
done. No more questions.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Singh.
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to say, Ms. Fire, thank you so much for that presentation. It was well presented, clear, and well communicated. No questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Reese?
Yes, I just have a couple questions. Happy to see 100% affordable housing coming. Just curious, is the concession for the no private open space, if the units did have private open space, would it minimize the number of units that could be feasible, the 67? Is that part of it?
Yeah, I'll jump in there. So yes, I mean, when it comes to site planning, your parcel is only so large. If they had to accommodate the additional 80 square feet and 40 square feet per unit, it would expand that footprint of the building and therefore impact the overall. I can't say exactly the number of units they may lose, but because of our development standards, they need to meet certain building setbacks, parking standards, and landscape setbacks. So every little square footage does add up for the total unit count.
Okay, the other question I have, and I don't know if anybody has this answer here, the 15,000 square foot community room, I'm just curious to know if that is open to all the residences ongoing, or do they have to rent it out and pay for it to use it?
That will be open to all of the residents ongoing. That project is going to be applying for tax credits, and as a result of that particular funding cycle, you have to have the community room open to the residents at that site.
Thank you.
No problem.
That concludes my question.
Commissioner Grebe?
I think I'll pass.
Thank you. Commissioner Matthews?
Just to be clear, if a development is approved by this board and no action's taken in 2 years, then it has to come back in front of the board. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that is the case with this project.
Correct.
Have there been any substantial changes from what was submitted previously?
No.
Okay. And just to echo Commissioner Singh's comment, excellent job on the presentation. I think it might be helpful in the future just to make sure that since we have various people with various tenure on the board to give that context. The other quick question that I'd like a brief update on is the recreation area. My understanding was there have been some capital approved for that. Can we get an update on what the status of that project is?
I just want to clarify, are you talking about the
Across
linear,
linear.
on North
Yeah,
Texas?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, across linear.
Yeah. That's under construction now.
Yes, there was recently a groundbreaking, but I also see Alvin Lay returning to the dais, so I'll let him speak on that.
Good evening again, Planning Commissioners, long time no see. Yes, so Ms. Sheehan here is correct. We had a groundbreaking for Node 4A Linear Park, I believe last week. Construction has started, and the project scope includes the rec center as well as several athletic fields. I'm just being a little general here because I'm not the project manager for the project. I'm fairly certain there's soccer fields, but I just don't want to give a certain answer.
And the center is part of the First Five program with the county. And that's
So-
providing a great deal of funding along with the Wind 2 Nation.
About a year time period for construction for that?
12 to 18, probably.
It should be open before this is completed anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Just speculating here, once the entitlements for this project is granted, the next phase of the project will be to put the engineering design drawings together, which will take some time. And then once the design drawings are permitted by the city and other necessary regulatory agencies, then construction will begin. And based on those timelines, I'll estimate 2 to 3 years for that, yeah.
And then, I know we don't have the applicant, but do we have confidence funding has been secured?
All of the funding has not been finally secured. Another application went in June of CPP funding, so a little bit over $1 million. And so the city, we're looking at potentially providing another $1 million. And we've also began to have conversations with the county, which they have some more housing trust funds that they would provide toward the project. So if we are able to, I guess, get the funding from CPP, I think we have a pretty good pathway in order to try to make sure that the project is funded. Now, the project will have to still apply for the tax credits. However, the issues that was creating the barrier for being successful in that application process will have been alleviated.
What were those issues?
The issues, there was a large amount, when you're applying for tax credits and when you're applying for MHP funding, they're looking at the amount of funding that you're applying per unit. And so when you have large amounts of that per unit, based upon what you're actually developing, it does impact your score. Also, because the city of Fairfield is not a high-resource city, meaning that the needs for a lot of amenities and otherwise is different than in, for instance, a city like San Francisco or otherwise, which will be identified as a high-resource area. The project also lost points for that as well. And then also because of the way the actual site was acquired, it was not acquired through a Surplus Land Act process, then it also lost points for that as well. So those were some of the things that sort of impacted the project. They've done some more value engineering in order to try to make sure that the project does have better numbers and will show more favorably with regard to the application process. We have not, because Fairfield is just Fairfield, we don't have a resolution for Fairfield being a low resource area, but we believe that we'll be able to make up the points because we've gone out for those CPP funds, which should make up that gap.
I'm sorry, you're using initials I'm not familiar with.
I'm sorry.
What is PPP?
CPP?
CPP funds, yes.
CPC?
Yeah, those are funds that come from, I think it's the county, right? Excuse me? Yeah, these are regional center funds that they would apply, and it's going to help toward the actual construction cost for the project. And because of the actual income target that this particular project is reaching and the actual resources that it is providing in terms of community supportive services and otherwise, then this project is eligible for those funds from the regional center.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm not getting a good sense that there is confidence funding will be secured.
Well,
am I misinterpreting?
What I'm not giving you is saying that it's absolutely done, because I don't want to mislead you, but I am letting you know that if we are successful with those, with the funding that was just applied for, I believe just this week, then we have a path to make sure that we have the gap cleared up so that the project should be successful in terms of being able to have its funding gap met. The funding gap was about $3 million. And so with the CPP funds, with the county funds, and with the city funds, which are more secure, then that funding gap would be met, and then we should be able to move forward.
And of that 3 million gap, the city is about $1 million, a third?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And EAH offers wraparound services, yes?
Well, this project
the
won't
residents.
necessarily have the wraparound services, but they will provide community services for the actual residents, and that is a requirement of the tax credit program that they're applying for. But it won't be it's not for homeless, but
This is just low income.
this is just low income, right? Wraparound services typically for the homeless.
Low and very low.
Yes,
Very low.
extremely low. So-
Great, thank you. Vice Chair Werban?
I don't have any questions, nor do I want to be a barrier for this group, because this is the first hurdle, regardless of the funding. That's my only comment, no questions.
Great, thank you. I just have one, and going back to the conceptual map, on the very first, and it doesn't have to do with the property itself, but the 7-Eleven there, and that like half acre there, that there's no access to that. So if there's unfortunately, the fire department's not here, and I looked in their report, and it was just, their standard report. But if there's a fire there, there's no access, because when I drove by that again today, the left of the 7-Eleven, the right, you can't get a vehicle back there. How and I mean, it's the linear trail. So as hard as Fairfield tries to keep it without problems, we know that there are fires along the linear trail. And if there's a fire there, how is that going to be looked? So that's my only question on that, is the piece next door, because that, if you can't get fire there, it could create other problems. So, you want to tackle that one?
I'll attempt to tackle that one. As you noted, unfortunately, our fire department could not be present tonight. We have significant staff shorting for our fire prevention team at the moment. But as I understand it, and maybe Public Works can correct me if I'm wrong, but the linear park trail does have maintenance access points. I would imagine in the pinch of an emergency, there would still be some space for, fire access. I will be very honest with you, I cannot say that with 100% certainty. And the other thing that I can mention, though, for the properties that are developed, obviously there would be proper access and dimensions available for a fire truck to get onto those properties, and potentially they could fight across the property lines. But I would be more than happy to follow up with our fire marshal to get a clearer answer for you.
Great, thank you. That's all. Any other questions?
I forgot to say welcome as well. Thank you.
Okay, I will now open the public hearing. I have one card, and that is Ruben Galvin.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ruben Galvan. I'm a representative with the NorCal Carpenters Union, Local 180. I'm here tonight to speak about the proposed affordable housing development, Tabor Commons, at 212 East Tabor Avenue. As we all agree, there is an urgent need for affordable housing in Fairfield. Projects like this one are essential to helping working families find stability. But as we address housing affordability, we must also pay attention to the conditions under which that housing will be built. That's why I'm asking the Commission, has EAH Housing been asked to commit to strong labor standards on this project? Without clear expectations around wages, benefits, and workplace protections, we leave the door wide open for bad actors to take advantage of workers. A prevailing wage designation alone is not enough. Too often, we see contractors misclassify workers to avoid paying benefits and protections they are legally owed. This often looks like wage theft, unsafe job sites, and contractors cutting corners, all at the expense of the very people who are building our communities. And when those workers don't have access to healthcare, an injury, illness can be devastating not only to their families, but to the long-term viability of the project themselves. We have seen workers go without treatment for serious conditions simply because their employers failed to provide healthcare. That's unacceptable. Basic healthcare is not a luxury, it's necessary in this physically demanding industry. Construction stuff, skilled work. That's why we urge the commission to press the developer for strong labor standards, including to use state registered apprentices, area standard wages, and healthcare benefits. These are not just protections for workers, they are investments in the quality, safety, and durability of the housing we are building. When public resources or approvals are involved, we have a responsibility to make sure those benefits are shared, not just by future tenants, but by the workers who build the homes they'll live in. Let's make sure the project reflects our community's values, fairness, dignity, and opportunity. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Galvin. I have no other speaker cards, and I do not see any hands raised online. Would staff like to respond to any of the issues?
I believe we answered the questions as asked.
Thank you. I will now close the public hearing and return to the commission for deliberations. Do I have a motion to approve resolution PC 2025-4?
I move that we approve resolution PC 2025-4.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Been moved and seconded to approve the resolution. Ms. Sheehan, may we have the roll call vote?
Commissioner Kennedy?
Yes.
Commissioner Warblin?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Greavy?
Yes.
Commissioner Reese?
Approve.
Commissioner Singh?
Approved.
And Commissioner Paul?
Approved and yes.
Thank you. The motion passes. Now we'll go on to our last item is item D, presentation from the Lewis Management Corporation on their Villages at Fairfield Master Plan. This is an informative presentation. The commission will not be taking any action tonight. There will be an opportunity for public comment and commissioners to ask questions to the presenter. Come on down.
Do you want me to do it? I can do it. Okay. You're welcome to stand there. I can help you exit through all that.
Staff this way. Commissioners, thank you so much. My name is Rob White. I am Start again. Commissioners, thank you so much. My name is Rob White. As was mentioned, I'm with the Lewis Management Corp., also Lewis Group of Companies, also Rancho Tolinas Company, also Lewis Plan Communities, et cetera, et cetera. We go by Lewis. That's how you probably know us. Just a real quick note, we are no longer Lewis Homes. I know a lot of people say that, but we're not. We sold that part of the company back in 1999, but we do just go by Lewis. So any way you want to call us, we'll be there to answer those questions. I do want to make sure I note some of my colleagues here, both Laura Zuckerman and Suzette Rosales. They come from our Sacramento office as well as myself. I am the VP that's in charge of all of Fairfield. So you'll probably see me a lot coming up, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that are forward-leaning. We'll talk a little bit about where we've been, and then I'm here to answer questions as long as you want to ask them. So I'll take about maybe 10, 15 minutes to go through these, and then we'll go from there if that works for everyone. Great, thank you. First and foremost, it's important again to note that the Lewis family is the organization that we're here representing. It is a family-run and operated organization. You'll see us through several different ways, doing master plan communities, we do multifamily communities, we do retail, we do commercial, and we do industrial. The only thing, again, to note is we no longer build homes, so those master planned areas like villages, we actually work with other builders to come in and build those lots after we're done doing the initial grading and then utility delivery. So we'll turn those over, and then we'll have a builder, names you'll recognize, such as Discovery, KB, DR Horton, et cetera, some of which you've seen here for villages doing design review, et cetera. The thing I want to note is we've got 3 different things working here at Villages. There were original approvals done, and I'm not going to talk a lot about them, back in 2004 and 5. Those approvals then hit a market that collapsed. Everything got put on the shelf for a few moments. We came back, re-entitled everything, did a few works that needed to change some aspects of the project in order to make it financially viable. That's the plan you see in front of you. That is the existing plan for 2015. Everything that we're doing right now still works underneath that plan. But like any good market, 10 years have gone by and things have changed again. So we're coming in and we're changing some of these aspects. We'll be asking for your guidance and ideas, as well as some concepts that we want to bring forward, and some I'll mention today. Most importantly, and the thing that's changed the most, is there was a project you might have been involved in previously or heard about, both Hawthorne Mill and Cooper's Landing. That was on the 400 acres that sits just to the southeast of this. We are now the owners of that. We bought that back in 2019, just as the year closed out, and we're coming back with a project that's part of that, Cooper's Landing, now called Lago Vista. We'll talk briefly about that. You'll be seeing that coming up on a future Planning Commission meeting here shortly. So what you'll see now is what we call the 2025 and beyond vision. Other than things that are already approved, and that includes Village 1, Village 2, and Village 4, the rest of what's on this map are all illustrative. So these are not approved, but we wanted to make sure that you saw where we think we're heading, and again, we'll be back here talking about that. Most specifically is Lago Vista, which sits just below the McCoy Basin to the south. That's the piece that's in the red there. North of that, and the school site, which we'll talk about in a second here, that's in Village 1, next to the Village 1 Park. We're asking for that to now be turned into a residential. We'll discuss why that's true in a second. And then Village 3, we've got some changes to Village 3. Most important to note is that portion of Village 3 has been actually transferred over to a different organization, and we're working on their behalf to also do those entitlements. So you'll still see us, but that's the Fairfield Land Corporation doing what we call Castle Hills. And then the rest of what you see, green and the yellow, that's the Hawthorne Mill remainder. That's about almost 375 acres, and we'll be back very far in the future with some plans that we think are there. Obviously, some of the blocking factors for both Cooper's Landing and the Hawthorne Mills area, because of McCoy Basin, is a lot of wetlands, a lot of open space, species to be noted, both federally and state listed. And we've done a lot of work and continue to do a lot of work in that space, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute. I'll pause for just a second, just in case there's any questions about 2015 versus 2025. No? Great. Timeline, so going forward, 2005, as I mentioned, was our approvals originally. 2015, we updated. 2017, we got construction underway, both Village 1 and Village 4. Village 4 finished first. That's the piece that's north of Goldridge and north of the canal. That's been done for quite some time now. In 2020, we started Village 2, and that's now finishing out what we call lots 3 and 4. That's Discovery. And then the very last remainder of Village 1, DR Horton just sold their last homes, so that piece is done. So what we're doing is now coming back and filling in some of those donut holes. We'll talk a little bit about construction that goes on around those pieces. We're then submitted for what we're calling Lago Vista, again noted previously Cooper's Landing. We'll also submitted what we're calling Parkside. That's the school site within Village 2, and I'll have a map in a second to track all of this. And then we're beginning surveys on the open space area of Hawthorne Mill, because it's important to note what's out there. It's a 2-year cycle for those surveys because of the wetlands and species. That was started already, but we'll be coming back late this year and into next year talking more and more about what's going on there. So you won't see a submittal for Hawthorne Mills in the near future, but sometime probably towards the middle of late next year. We are also looking towards the end of this year, not only to be in hearings for Lago Vista and Parkside, so you already have us on your calendar coming forward, but also we'll be submitting on that Castle Hills piece on behalf of the Fairfield Land Corporation. I'll show you where that is in just a second as well. The remainder of Village 3, which we do own and control, we'll be coming back with an additional application for that. And the reason it's changing from what you saw in 2015 is because there was significant wetlands sitting out there that had to be mitigated for. Part of this Hawthorne Mill equation is we'd wind up being able to do some self-mitigation, much like you saw with One Lake and other areas to the east of us. But there are little plants called goldfields. They're ubiquitous and abundant. They're beautiful, but they're small. And there are also, again, some vernal pools and many wetlands. So we'll be talking about that and enumerating that as we go forward. So lots going on over the, we'll call it next decade of both entitlement and planning as well as construction. But all of those pieces are owned and controlled either through a Lewis organization or with a partnership organization, again, Fairfield Land Corporation. Lago Vista, as I noted, and I've tried to yellow in those things that are already underway and or planned for in previous entitlements. Lago Vista sits just to the east of Village 2. If you've ever been out Highline Road, right there where the detention center is, and you come to a dead end, this is just beyond that cattle guard gate. This is an area that is on a small plateau. It looks out over McCoy Basin. The entitlement that we're asking for that is in application now, and again, we'll be back talking about this in an actual hearing, is 151 single-family homes in 2 different neighborhoods, 75 in one, 76 in another, and then 224 multifamily duplex rentals. This is a community that we've been rolling out in other places. It's being built right now in Dixon. They're starting construction in West Sac. We've entitled it in Folsom. We're doing 2 more entitlements in Natomas, one in Vacaville, and then this one that's moving forward. So it's a new concept. It's duplexes that look and live like a home, but they wind up having a small backyard space so that you have that private amenity set. But it's also amenitized like you would see a normal multifamily 3-story walk-up with a pool, a clubhouse, a fitness area, et cetera. This one also includes some amazing opportunities for overlook of the McCoy Basin. So there's a parkway that sits out there. And again, you'll see more of these plans as we come forward and actually talk about the specifics of that project. I believe mainly, if I'm not mistaken, we're scheduled for August at this point. The other part of Lago Vista, just to be clear, is it sits weirdly in a dual EIR phase. It sits as part of Villages because we're incorporating it from a traffic study scenario, but it also has a previous and existing EIR from the Cooper's Landing Hawthorne Mill, and we've blended those together, and we'll be presenting that data as part of an addendum to those EIRs so that you can see how we've brought this together. Questions about Lago Vista, again, knowing you're going to see this in just a couple of weeks.
Yes, just had a quick question there. So then, specifically for the 224 duplex rentals, I just want to understand the motivation behind them being for rent versus for sale. Was there any specific motivation why, like a long-term rental was decided?
Sure, it's a brand new concept that Lewis came up with specifically for our multifamily communities, and yet to be untested in the market. We're not sure whether or not it's going to have the uptake that we hope for. We think it is, considering what we're already seeing in Dixon. Should this be a product that we think works in the market, we'll probably be coming forward with some of those opportunities for sale as well. But this one specifically, we're using our own resources in order to test the market, see what kind of uptake and responses there are. But we feel pretty confident, otherwise we wouldn't have gotten this far, but nothing's known until it's known. So that's why we're doing it this way first.
Thank you.
Sure. This is a hybrid, apologies. The single one doesn't quite match up as well as we hope it was, but shows you the 2 different lot sizes. These are lot sizes that already exist in Fairfield and other locations. They're pretty what we call bread and butter in the industry. You will, in your packet going forward, see some architecture that we've put in for these lots. The smaller of the lots are what we call the licensed product. You have a version of that down by Costco that we help to entitle for Tri-Point. The ones that are in the blue, that's a it's a 45 by 67 deep lot. It's a product that we've actually used up in Sacramento that works really well. Both have their positives. They have different living opportunities. The yellow lots are a little more long and narrow, but they wind up having a little more backyard space. The blue ones, a little shorter backyard space, but you wind up getting more inside the house. So depending on your family needs and your living style, One of the blue ones includes a bedroom down, and one of the yellow ones also includes a bedroom down, trying to create a multi-generational opportunity as well. A lot of people have family members that are needing to either move back in or have a place for a while, so you'll see those plans as well. The multifamily, which as you can see sits kind of in that little white area, and you'll see that the we call nose that sits off to the east has been cut off, and that's because of a existing flood easement with U.S. Bureau of Rec. We'll talk more about that in the future, but there's 224 units, and you can see, as I mentioned, there's an amenity set sits right inside the gate. It is a gated community. We do really well with these in the fact that we can control how and who accesses the site. It does have an amenity set that's open to the community for those residents that live there. So we want to make sure that we have that opportunity to make sure we know who's in and out of that community. The great news on this, and again, you'll hear a lot more about it, and it's worked really well in other communities, is everything that comes onto the site is privately owned, operated, and maintained by Lewis. So all those utilities that you otherwise would have to manage, the streets that you would have to manage, the street lights, the landscaping, all us. So as everything enters into the site, our trade-off of being a gated community is that we also then handle all those things, and it's not a burden on the city. They still pay multifamily rate for all their permitting, et cetera, but you just won't have that ongoing maintenance issue that goes forward. So that's Lago. Any quick questions on Lago?
I'm just curious, you mentioned that you were, you guys are, for that 224 multifamily rental units, you have them in other places. Is there any address location you could provide? I'm just curious to see what it looks like.
Sure, absolutely. And in fact, we're about half through construction right now. About half the site's been built out, so you can see what it looks like in a form and function. It's in Dixon, right off 113. If you get to the Walmart on Highway 80 and you go south, 2 blocks in, there's a Rotten Robbie gas station, which we also entitled, and it sits right behind that.
Thank you.
I believe the address is like 1305, but I can look it up and give it to you, Commissioner.
This is probably enough for me to find it. Thank you.
You couldn't miss it. Some of the amenity sets, and again, I don't want to spend a lot of time because we will be back talking through all these details, but some of the amenity sets that we, Lewis, always like to do is also make sure that the single-family folks, the for-sale product, have things. There will be an HOA that we're suggesting for this location, so front yards as well as these 2 pocket parks will be part of that maintenance, again, taking that obligation off the city. Part of what you see in the villages and some of the areas that don't have an HOA is people choose to design their front yards in different ways after they've already been built, and we'd like to help try to manage that with the city. So one of the reasons for the HOA is that management. It's also because this sits at the very end of what essentially is a long cul-de-sac. It's an opportunity without proper maintenance and oversight for the community to struggle. So we wanted to make sure that it doesn't have those issues. It's a nominal HOA. We're not talking about something that's several hundreds of dollars. It's probably something that's sub 150 or so. But it really is going to take that maintenance obligation off them for the front yard, as well as those parklets as an amenity. The other big thing that we've done with the city is to create a connection up to Portland. So at the cul-de-sac and going forward, there's a, right now it's designed to be 18 feet, if I'm not mistaken, paved trail, which also doubles as an EVA access for fire, that will then allow folks to transport back and forth up to ultimately the Village One Park and the linear trail right there next to it. So that was an important piece of connectivity, making sure that not only children who want to go to the park and play, but also adults who want to exercise have an opportunity to create a giant loop, as well as access those public amenities that are already there. And this is, again, just a blow-up and kind of a look at some of the design aspects. And again, Commissioner, as you mentioned, where are these? You can see these in real form. They're starting to get skin now, and you'll start to see them being painted out, et cetera, in the next couple of weeks. If you give it a couple of weeks, you'll see even more than you see now, but you can see the form and function already. Again, amenity sets is important to Lewis, all of our communities. Ultimately, we really lean into that. What makes a resident happy? It's those things that come with a community rental, but also ultimately create space, create community, create gathering. So that's why we do these things. And if you've been to any Lewis communities, especially some we've built recently, you'll see that our amenity sets look more like something you'd see at a resort. And that's just something that we think is important to not only bringing in residents, but also keeping them. So Obviously, one of the questions that I'll answer in advance, because I'm sure it will come up, is how will we be interfacing with Travis? Because obviously, a lot of airmen are looking for places to live, and this would be an attractant opportunity. And we are interfacing with the base already. And in fact, I've been working with Lois Cross, who, as some of you know already, to make sure we have those linkages in place. So, if there's no questions beyond that, I want to talk a little bit. Oh, Commissioner, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. HOAs, how are they triggered, and are they, is it, hey, you know what, we've had it level for 4 years at $150, and oh, by the way, it's going to go to 200 in the 5th year?
Sure.
Or is it set and tied to a contract where it's based on cost of living, CPI, or something like that?
Yeah, it's a CPI-driven scenario, and it really is based more importantly on what is the actual books of what has to be managed. And in this case, again, it's front yard maintenance, so blow and go twice a month, excuse me, and then the maintenance of the parks. And those parks, as you'll see in the packet that you'll receive in a few weeks, those have been amenitized, but really with an idea towards maintenance, making sure that there isn't grass to cut all the time, et cetera, and really giving the residents the opportunity for that open space without creating a burden to them. But financially, and I have a HOA where I live, which does the same thing, it's $115 a month. And what it does ultimately is make sure I don't have to do anything in my front yard forward and the common open space. The way we get to that every single year is the board meets, they look through the finances, figure out what the CPI is, and then do they need to up it or not. And I'll tell you, many years we don't get an increase. And it's just because we're managing our budgets well. So it'll be dependent upon the HOA, the 151 residents, to make sure they manage themselves well, but there are trigger points that will be written into the contract to make sure that it doesn't go askew. So, does that answer your question, Commissioner? Parkside, I want to take a brief moment here. Again, you'll see this one as well. This will be traveling just after Lago Vista to this commission. A lot of people have been wondering, especially if you've been in the villages, where's the school? The school had been planned for clear back in 2005. Wanted to be really abundantly clear how schools work in the day that we work in now. And that is that we, through working with the city, were requested to set aside a school site of 10 acres. That was done. And then things happen. Life changes, developments don't happen in the time frames that we think they will. Schools transition in their needs. We don't control the school district. Obviously, the city doesn't control the school district. So what we try to do is be a good partner. And we're doing that with Travis. We're doing that with Fairfield Sassoon. We're doing that with other communities that we work in. In the case of Fairfield Sassoon, there was always a desire to enter into an opportunity here, but never was it triggered. They did not plan for it in their facility needs. They did not access funding, which they could do. And it wasn't because they didn't think there might be a need, it's just the need didn't materialize. And they were able to meet their growing need for villages specifically with the site over at Laurel Creek, just across Claybank. So they were able to work that site in a way that made the village residents have those accesses to elementary school. One of the things that's important about new builds and thinking about as a community grows is that, especially in the world we live in now, you don't see young couples move in and have a bunch of kids and then they have a bunch of school needs. What you ironically have now is people of all shapes, sizes, diversity that move in different family structures. Sometimes there's kids, sometimes there's not. Right now, ironically, and I think the schools, as you've heard before, are struggling, trying to project what are the ultimate educational needs, but the kids aren't showing up the way that they thought they would. So not going to put $50 million into a 10-acre elementary school site when they don't need it, and that's what their discussion has been. To make sure that it's really clear, and I'm going to jump ahead one and then I'll come back, of how we got here. Again, RDA, working with the city and partnered with the school district, required us to set it aside in the land plan. Had we been thinking like we do today back then, we would have put an underlying zoning so we wouldn't even be having the conversation about whether or not it can get rezoned. We didn't, so we're here, going to have a conversation with that instead. But the school district had an obligation by January 4th of 2023 to let the city and Lewis know whether or not they plan to action on the site. They told us in mid-2022 that they did not. They reconfirmed it in 2023. They reconfirmed it again in mid-2023. And I think Melee and staff are satisfied now that there truly isn't going to be them showing up and asking for that site or that need. The complicating factor, and let me go backwards for a second. Oops, sorry. The complicating factor is that right next to it, you see this little bright green stripe that's on the blown-up land plan. The school district owns that 2 acres. And you ask, how did that happen? In about 2016, there was a 3-way trade, Lewis, the city, and the school district, to help them acquire part of the parcel. The value of what they could acquire was that 2 acres. Everybody agreed. We did some work on Manuel Campos on behalf of the city, and the city did a swap with us on a site down by Costco. So there was a very effective trade. You can blame Aaron Beavers or thank him, either way you'd like, past planning manager. I think it was kind of a really smart way to get to the end conclusion, except that the school's not needed now. So that 2-acre stripe, just to be clear, the staff are working with the school district. They hope to reach a deal where that might either be acquired and added to the park that's right next door and about to go into construction, or some other use. We don't control it, we don't manage it, and we can't plan for it. So we let the city staff do the work that they need to do. But it is a weird factor in this scenario that there's this remnant piece. At the end of the day, I think there will be a solution. Probably will take some time to figure it out. I don't know that we'll have that done by the time we get back here talking to you about this project, but I just want to be really clear that that's one of those weird things that's happening. For us, what we decided was let's mirror some of the housing types that are already in the Village 1 area. So we've come up with a product that's a 50-foot wide lot by a 55-foot deep. Again, provides some different options, including a split garage, et cetera. It is, this is the latest and greatest plan, which we're updating with staff right now, based on some fire recommendations. We had a longer cul-de-sac, which we were able to abate and move some stuff around. Additionally, we have a water quality basin, which is now the new requirement with LID and the MS4 permit for the city. It sits right adjacent to the north of the linear park. So if you look at the bright green area, you'll see the linear park just south of that. So it'll meld with the linear park. It'll seem as more open space to the people that aren't looking at the plan and just walking around the site. We're also making it into a pollinator garden, so there will be a bench for people to sit and enjoy some of those aspects that we know are important in this area because of the ecological habitat, et cetera. And you can't get enough pollinators, as we all know, so we'll be leaning into that as part of our landscaping approach. The other thing to note on this, and then I'll stop, is that ultimately, from the front, even though the lots aren't as deep as some of the houses surrounding, from the front, nobody will be able to see a difference between any of the individual houses in other parts of villages that are built out and this. So they are equally wide. So unless somebody invites somebody over for a backyard barbecue and they get to go in their backyard, they wouldn't know. I want to note that because these land forms for these houses are different than the architecture around it. Again, providing a different type of housing. And we'll have land plan, or excuse me, house plans, et cetera, that'll come in that packet. I believe we're planning right now to come in September for that project. Questions about Parkside?
I'm just curious of how large is the park parcel? Estimate, like how?
The little piece down below? The little piece down below is, I believe it's 0.03 acres. It's not big. This whole site's only 8 acres, 799 actually. It's not meant to be a park as much as it's meant to be just an open space amenity and take care of water quality. Everything we do now, because of the change in permit status, has to have an LID component, which is a place for water collection, water infiltration, and only overflow in extreme flood conditions. But, and as I pointed out, just south of this is the expansive linear park that's been put in, as well as right next door. And the reason we called it Parkside is because the park's literally next door. So we'll wind up being able to have, residents can access that park. They'll be one of the closest parts of villages to that Village 1 park. And let me roll backwards and kind of show you. So you can see on this plan, right next to that bright green stripe I mentioned was the school district, is the park. It's 5.3 acres, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, that's, okay.
So, and it's highly amenitized. There's a lot of stuff packed into that park, a skate node, all kinds of courts, half courts, of course, what's the thing, pickleball everybody loves. So all the stuff. The community of Villages will be happy. And a quick update on that is I think we're done with improvement plans on that. We should be going to construction on that relatively soon, but the site's prepped and ready. So,
Thank you.
questions about Parkside? And again, knowing you're going to see all of this again, I'm just trying to give you an overview.
So that park is existing 5.3 acres and then the possibility of an additional 2 to make it 7.3?
Yeah. And we are working with staff. They've been wonderful about if we were to plan for that additional 2, what would it look like? And how
So it'll be called Beavers Park, I presume?
It'll be called what?
No, have to.
Yeah, it could be. Why not? Kennedy Park.
Yes, and I also had a question there as well. This is just to confirm, because I know that there are going to be questions and comments that are going to circulate around this at length. So in 2015, 2 acres were granted to Fairfield Sassoon Unified School District in a development site capacity, what they're going to develop before it could be a school. That is what the intention was, and they had 8 years to decide if that's the direction that they wanted to move forward. They made clear in 2022, which is about 7 years after 2015, mid-2022, that they didn't have that intention, and then in 2023, they reinforced that they were not going to move forward in that direction, and so is that what is being communicated here?
Correct. And there is written communication from the district, both their facilities manager and their superintendent, stating exactly that. We don't plan to put a school on that site. We don't have it in our funding plan. And in order to move forward on that site, we'd have to go backwards and get a lot of money that they can't get. A school, just again, to frame it, an elementary school on this 10-acre site, assuming you could build one for cost today, it's about a $50 million adventure. So part of it is they don't need it. Number 2 is they've already addressed much of their need over at Laurel Creek.
Received.
But,
Thank
but
you.
yes, it's all in written form. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. I'll move on. One of the questions that came up earlier, I heard Commissioner Grieve. You talked about Manuel Campos, otherwise known as Claybank, or excuse me, Seaman Hill. Good news is, if you've driven on Claybank, you've seen that that's been fully improved and done. There's some landscaping still going on, but that piece is done. The piece of Manuel Campos between Claybank and Portland, and the north side of that, you've seen the south side's been landscaped. The north side of that is going into construction this year. Our improvement plans are all but signed off, if I'm not mistaken, Alvin. And we've been working systematically with the staff to make sure that gets done. Those are obligations through our DA from other parts of the projects. So the things that you're looking at now, both Lago and Parkside, will have other obligations, not the ones that we're talking about building out for Manuel Campos, again, Claybank to Portland. It's an important thing to note, as Alvin, I think, talked about it, is part of the pay-go problem with the Northeast fee is you got to pay and then go. So you got to collect up enough money in order to address a piece of the puzzle. We are working with the city on both design plans as well as a build-out program. Both Lago Vista and Parkside will generate some additional fee credits, which get paid at the time of development. They won't be enough to address Manuel Campos from Portland to Walters, but they are part of the puzzle. So we're dedicating some of that effort, and you'll see in the blue that we talk about the Manuel Campos Parkway extension. We'll already be deep into improvement plans because of those pieces, knowing that more is coming. And one I haven't shown or talked about yet, other than in reference, is Castle Hills. That will be another application that's coming in. We believe, and again, math being what it is, that between Lago Vista, Parkside, and Castle Hills, should those have successful approvals, that we can build out that blue section between Portland and Walters. It doesn't get you from Walters to Peabody, just to be clear, which is the purple piece, but it does get you meaningfully over to Walters. And we'll talk a little, just briefly, about Castle Hills in a second. The other thing to note in the fee program is that we've been probably one of the most active partner builders with the city on the Northeast program. Obviously, One Lake's done a lot from Peabody up Vanden, but from really almost 80 all the way out to what ultimately will be Walters, we've been the primary builder. And I know it's been stop-start, and I know that there's been pieces that the flyovers and the drive-throughs that have been frustrating. Construction is what it is, but I think we're meaningfully done up to Claybank at the moment. There are some objects, as staff would attest, that are in the way, that have to get moved, that are at the point now where we can get those moved, including some AT&T facilities and some PG&E facilities. But as a good example of how these things interact, if you've been to Portland and you've been to where the crossing for the linear trail would go off behind the Cemex plant, looks like a PG&E pole sitting in the middle of what should be right-of-way, and it is. And the problem is that PG&E didn't plan for that, and therefore had to install a pole in the wrong place. Now, getting it moved means that we have to work with them to get their engineers to approve all those plans. The city's been great about doing all of this. That will go as part of the next segment of Linear Park, so that there will be a funding nexus to get that done. But those are the kind of objects. The other great thing about the Linear Park is it's a great open space. It's a nice old trail from a short line railroad. Department of Water Resources, in their great wisdom, said there's a great straight shot. We'll put two 66-inch water mains in there, and then said, hey, you don't need to build anything on top of it because we don't want you to change our access points. So the linear park that you see that's in Village 1 now with the nice meandering trail and the great offsets and everything, that's probably the last time we get to do it that way. Good news is we now know where everything is and we know what DWR's objections are, which is reasonable, and we've got some plans coming forward with additional linear park areas as we move up towards Peabody that plan for those access points. So us and city staff have all been learning about DWR's needs as we go, but hey, that piece of park's great. So,
go ahead.
Please.
I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
I'm Rob.
Rob. Robin?
R-O-B.
Rob.
Okay, and last name?
White.
Okay, thanks. You talked briefly about Village 3. There's a part of there that's commercial. Are you going to get to that later, or can we talk about it now?
I'm coming up on that. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Very good.
Perhaps before we do that, we'll stick with the housing. What's the parking situation?
Regarding?
Cars. I mean, you're packing a lot of little places in here with a lot of people. Sure. Where are they going to park their cars?
Yeah, so parking standards for the city require 2 on site and 1 on the street. Every one of them meets that condition, plus 1 additional. So even in the ones that have a split garage, those still have 3, 1 in the drive, 2 in the garages. So there's 4 allotted to every single unit and 5 in most cases. So as you look around the neighborhood, all of those parking conditions by city standards have been met.
Thank you.
Sure. I will add, the majority of the houses that we do are 2-car garages side by side and then a full drive. The reason that we're doing a different one at Parkside is we're hearing from our builders that this is a really exciting plan type that they want to move forward on. So we're trying to deliver something different that also meets different price points for folks. And so we'll see if it works that way. But
I have a question about that. Do the CCNRs then state that people must park in their garages? I know that people don't really read those and follow those, but in these communities, you do end up seeing cars just everywhere. They're these beautiful communities when they're built, and then you drive by when everyone's in there, and it's like, whoa, there's like hundreds of cars.
yes, that is a great question, and it is a important question, but also a sticky question, and I'll say it this way. Part of the problem in housing development is how do you enforce conditions like CCNRs and really code. And if you have a really robust code enforcement, it can sometimes be not what you want. But at the same time, if you don't have those code enforcement actions, then you wind up having, as you mentioned, 7 cars per house and they're parked in the front yard, or better yet, they've taken out all of their landscaping and paved it. You see some of that in villages already. Part of the reason why we've been conversing with the city and moving forward on this, what we're calling thin HOA, which really just manages the front yard, is now the neighbors, as a collective whole, get to make those decisions as to whether or not somebody should pave in their front yard, which they probably shouldn't. Additionally, can enforce on those car parking scenarios. Now, We don't want to create a police action as well, because nothing's worse than 151 151 neighbors all trying to collectively meet and come to conclusions. But we do want to get at least some semblance of, hey, what's in here and what's built is not open for, let's pull it all out and put in a bunch of white rock and cacti because you felt like you should have been in Scottsdale instead. We get it. That's why Scottsdale exists. But in the villages, it has a very specific landscaping theme that you all have approved in the past and going forward. Our design guidelines are meant to be kind of the code, the zoning, in addition to CC&Rs, et cetera, but we really think that going forward, this HOA approach is the right one. We won't be dropping an HOA on Parkside because you don't have enough homes to spread that HOA out on for that fiscal stability. So it's unfair to take 76 homes, burden them with something that's going to cost them $400 a month for just landscaping. So that will be the last one that we're proposing that has that condition and not some other trigger behind it in order to help the city with that code enforcement activity.
So then for that other site, something about the parking would be in the CC&Rs even though it's not really enforced? Okay, because I think it's the whole affordability factor and you have like lots of people living together, you know, and
Totally
multiple
agree.
people having cars.
Yeah, totally agree. And you're absolutely right. There's people with no cars or one car, and there's people with 6. And then, you know, how do you spread those around? Again, what we've tried to do is exceed city standards on all of those aspects. But you're absolutely right. How do you control that beyond? And the CC&Rs will speak to that. But as we found, doesn't always have the teeth that you want to hope for. Melee, did you want to add to that, or happy with that one? Let me speak briefly. I know we're running long on time, and I apologize. Let me speak briefly to Manuel Campos, the purple piece from Walters to Peabody. The development that would ultimately play into that is going to be the stuff that's the city property, Cross and Strasburger, the remainder of Hawthorne Mill, and then ultimately the stuff that's just north of that in the triangle piece, which is part of the train station specific plan. Hawthorne Mill and the villages are not in the train station specific plan, although we interact with it a lot. But the funding mechanism of 4 Northeast fee is across all of this area. So the fee program, as it would be coming forward, would really require development on the north side and south side to get that extension done. Roads are not cheap anymore. I don't think they ever were, but they're definitely not cheap now. Just to give you ballpark numbers, and the current fee program, and Alvin, tell me if I'm wrong, in the current fee program for that light blue section that's between Portland and Walters, that right now, based on best available engineering, is about a $32 million piece of infrastructure, and that's just that one piece. Going from Walters to Peabody is a longer stretch. It's going to require more work, including the ditch that you know is on the south side, which, sad to say, is a city-owned function. We don't own that. We're south of that. And you have to account for that ditch because it's a wetland, weirdly. And so how do you ultimately build? And you can't go north because there's already things built. You can't go much farther south because you're going to start to run into other conditions. So I bring that up because it's a challenge. It's a good challenge, but the staff have been delightful in sitting down and rolling out maps and having discussion. We will figure it out. We all collectively will. But to be really clear, that piece of infrastructure likely isn't coming online until earliest 4 or 5 years from now. I hear you, Commissioner, about the potholes big enough to lose a Volkswagen, but without the development fee program, we can't get the money collected in order to get that done. Now, there's always a bright spot in everything. We are talking with the staff right now about a number of different actions that we want to take villages-wide. We think we have at least an interim solution to that section that we hope to be coming forward with when we're discussing our update to our DA. Again, things to be figured out. Money is always the issue. But I think there's enough stuff in the village's plan that we ultimately can probably figure out an interim step that gets us part of the way. Probably not the full piece that you're looking for, but something closer than what it's in condition-wise now. Not a promise, just want to be clear, but definitely working with staff to try to figure that out. So your message is not muted. So. I talked a little bit about Castle Hills. As I mentioned, that's been transferred over to the Fairfield Land Corp. We are working on their behalf for the entitlement. That project will be submitted for staff and consideration later this year, and then moving forward. It's about 288 units. It's very similar to what you see already in Gold Ridge, so it would look very, very familiar. The nice thing about this is when the city went and put in Walters Road, Huck Road, and Rasmussen, which are the pieces that you see on the edge, they did that in a way that created this different parcel. So that piece could be moved ahead separate from the rest of Village 3. The other really important condition, and why I want to be clear about it, is there's no wetlands on that site. So we have no species, no wetlands, which makes it easy to move forward in a different trajectory. We can also think that we can do, from an engineering standpoint, we can serve it with all the utilities it needs without impacting any of the sensitive receptors that are on the rest of Village 3. So that will be coming as a separate packet, what we're calling a carve-out, essentially. And then shortly thereafter, we'll come in with a land plan for Village 3, including that retail center, which is just to the west of where you see the red and the yellow meet. I think I do have the land plan. Let me double check. Village 3, we are asking for a change in unit count. We are asking for a change in land plan. We're asking for a change in zoning. So it's a lot of work that needs to go into Village 3, but we have to settle our wetland issue first. Bright spot there, the Water Board seems to be very willing to work with us. They are not, we think, jurisdictional wetlands for the core, so that would be a Water Board action. And we've had a conversation with them already about the opportunity, and they seem to be very interested in moving that piece forward. So good, exciting times. The other thing, again, everything's being worked on. The blue line, as you see it now, one of the struggles will be the bridge crossing at the canal. That's a Bureau of Rec facility, also managed by SQA in concert with DWR. Couldn't get enough agencies in there. That has a solution, we think, that actually bypasses the bridge and actually moves Manuel Campos south, straightens it out a little bit. It would move it onto the city's property, which the city will have to work through, and how does that look? But we think there's an alignment that misses all the wetlands south of it, misses all the wetlands north of it, and creates a very smooth pathway to get through there that's a lot less of the, as you know, Commissioner, that jog that, you know, people get a little confused by. And we think we'll avoid the Bureau of Rec consideration, although we'll coordinate with them, they won't have to permit it because we'll be completely separate from that action. So good news, more to come, but we think we've got a pathway there that solves part of that blue alignment and might actually get us to construction a little sooner. So,
Just to underscore, when you put airmen there, they're going to go in through the north gate, which means they're going to be traveling that road.
Yeah. So we want to give them a straight runway. Yes, that is a treacherous portion of the Cement Hill Road, is that little bridge crossing. It's historic, by the way, although I don't think it's listed, but we just want to avoid it, not touch it, and be able to widen just south of it. So it'll help smooth out where the airmen are going to go up to the Vanden Gate instead. So Village 3, as I mentioned, is going to be coming forward as a project probably middle of next year is when we'll start that. It's going to be a long lead because there's a lot that goes into this, including the wetlands issue. We're partnering that with Village 5 and then what we're calling the proposed McCoy Creek South Preserve future is about 220 acres in that green area that would be an active preserve, part of the HCP for Solano County. And if we think what the Water Board's telling us is correct, we'll be able to mitigate everything on site, move the whole project forward, have a really nice piece of open space that will provide some viewing decks and amenities that you can go out and enjoy the view of it. You can't go out and walk in it, but there's birds out here, et cetera. So it'll be much like it's now, but with some amenity options that will highlight this preserve area. Village 5 that came forward previously was 650 units. That probably is a target that's too far. We're probably throttling back about 100, so we're calling it about 550 units. Again, a lot of land planning here. Part of this is what mitigation requirements we'll have, what can we avoid. There are several tributaries that come off of the Cement Hill area that come through here, including off Noonan, that have to be avoided. But again, I think, say that the Water Board partner in this has been great, so we want to rush to that opportunity before she decides to retire. So. And I apologize, Commissioner. I thought I did have a Village 3 land plan in here, but I can go back to this one and we can talk through it if needed, and I apologize.
I know that time's getting along. I just want to emphasize the need for some good, well-thought-through commercial.
Good. We, the pink piece there, that's a 9-acre commercial site. It sits on the northwest corner between Welters and Cement Hill. We are already been to ICSC, which is the shopping center down in Vegas. We've done the one in Monterey as well. We're talking to a number of grocery anchors. If we get what we're hoping for here, it would be a grocery anchor with probably a couple of juniors, and then ultimately some front shops and maybe a restaurant. And this is something Lewis does well. We have the Lewis Retail Group. You can look us up online. We do a lot of these centers that are in that space, but that's what we're hoping to achieve. It'll be based on the market and based on the conditions of what's the community it's serving. But there is interest. I want to report that. I'll stop. I went a little long. I apologize, but there's lots to impart here and take questions.
I just have a question. What's the estimated space here, acreage in all these different villages that?
Sure.
gonna develop?
Lago Vista, including the piece that goes up to Portland, that little trail segment, is 37 acres plus or minus. Parkside's 8 acres, 7.99 technically. Village 3 proper, I believe is 115. The Castle Hills piece, I believe, is 32, quoting off the top of my head, so close. And then Hawthorne Mill's going to just depend on what wetlands we avoid. We're estimating it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 70 acres.
And I don't need an exact number, but what's if everything goes as planned, how many units do you anticipate in this area?
So Village's original approval back in 2025, not including Lago Vista and Hawthorne Mill, that approval was 2,200 units roughly. We are built far less than that, so that's one of the reasons why you'll be seeing us come forward with these other projects attached to the EIR using those traffic counts. And you'll see that when we come forward. When we get to Village 3, the rest of it, we will exceed that traffic number. We'll have to come in and we'll have to do a full relook at the EIR. So Melee can get her pencil sharpened and get going. Traffic will be the driver as well as GHG and noise, obviously. But the sensitive wetlands and other species come into play. The good news is we're really well-versed on what's out there, so we understand what our constraints look like. And so the land plan that you'll see coming forward really marries to that concept, I think, pretty well. So, and it's ours to demonstrate to you as well.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rob. I'll now take public comment. I don't have any cards and no hands online. So does anybody have any further questions?
Yes, Chair, just had a question. I just want to co-sign one of my colleagues' comments. The demand for service, retail, and commercial spaces in Fairfield far exceeds the current supply. And I'm very clear when I say service retail rather than just normal retail. And then also this area of Fairfield as part of the train station specific plan has a massive gap for that service retail commercial space, and so that's much needed here. So thank you guys for including that as part of Village 3.
You bet. Thank you. And we hope to make it happen. So,
thank you. Commissioner Paul, do you have any questions?
Yeah, no questions, since all the questions that popped into my mind have been asked by my worthy colleagues, and I have a comment. Well, I'm thankful to the Lewis Group for serving the Fairfield community and helping the city and the planning department to construct, build, and rebuild the city of Fairfield to a beautiful town, and I hope they'll keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Reese, any further questions?
No, thank you for the presentation. Very informative.
of course.
Commissioner Greavy?
No, thank you.
Matthews? Vice Chair Werblin? Okay. 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
And it's mainly for staff here. Are all these within part of our RENA numbers, or
Yes, so everything that already has a residential zoning designation or an entitlement has contributed towards our RENIF figures.
Okay. And then the last one, which tends to be the big city question of the year, the good old four letters, LLMDs. So the part that'll have the HOAs will not have an LLMD because they're doing it through the HOA process and you're controlling that aspect. The 7.99 acres Parkside that is too small to have an HOA, is that going to be formed into an LLMD in that area? What's going to happen with that aspect?
Yeah, I'll have to call upon my Public Works colleague, everyone's favorite, Mr. Alvin Lay.
You didn't think you'd have to work this much tonight, did you?
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. So great question. As we work with Lewis Plan Communities for their entitlements, we'll have to talk about, these kinds of questions. How will landscape and public amenities be maintained and, more importantly, funded? So, before the city commits to taking on any additional maintenance, we'll need to be sure to discuss the appropriate mechanisms to make sure that's funded.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be part of the HOA instead of LLMD, if it's a small section, because that'll be just like future issues. So, okay, see no other questions? Thank you very much and appreciate everything. Now we'll go on to information and communications, director's reports and commissioner comments. We'll start with you.
Sure. I'll keep it short and sweet for you all. As of right now, I do not believe there will be a July 9th Planning Commission. We need for the City Council's July 15th meeting to occur first because Commissioner Warblin's term is coming to a close and our council needs to lock in who that commissioner or who that seat will be filled by. It could be Commissioner Warblin. I'm sorry we haven't had a chance to speak if you were interested in reapplying. But so I do want to make a point that your July 9th meeting most likely will be canceled. And then with that, your July 23rd meeting will take place. At that time, starting that new fiscal year, we will be looking to appoint a new chair and vice chair, or potentially you will keep your current ones. That will be up to the commission to decide. And additionally, I'm working it out with Lori to the left of me here. We're looking to take advantage of having that meeting and providing some additional informational presentations from Richard Watson and Gershon on the Brown Act and CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act. So if you're going to be here on the 23rd, we want to take advantage of your time. And then lastly, a few of you had time with Miss Cindy Garcia, our office administrator, to book some time for lunches with myself, our community development director, Dave Zellers, and our deputy community development deputy, Anna Giles. I know a few of you weren't able to connect with her before the meeting started, and she let me know she will be following up with you via email with some dates for those lunches. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Commissioners, we'll start with Commissioner Paul. Do you have anything to report?
Yes, all I have to say that I'll say goodbye to Tina Verblin since her term is expiring next month, and it was a pleasure to work with her all these years. And since we are not meeting on July 9th, I'll say happy 4th of July to everybody, and that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Singh.
Yes, thank you so much. I just have two things. Firstly, 85 Degree Bakery recently opened up here in Fairfield, and I just want to say it is a dangerous place to go for your blood sugar, because once you go, you will not be able to leave. I've been there now 3+ times, and it's been a fantastic experience each time. So great shop, really recommend it. And also number two, wanted to say I'm not sure where the application or whatnot process is at, but I just want to say Vice Chair Warburton, thank you so much for being a great planning commissioner. I remember when I first was appointed to a planning commission, I had some jitters. I wasn't sure about some things, but I spoke with you, and you had a very calming nature and really helped me along that transitionary process. So I appreciate what you've done on the planning commission and what you've done for me in helping me, and just want to say I appreciate you.
Commissioner Reese.
I'm going to echo the sentiments of my colleagues. Not sure what the plans are, but I appreciate serving on this commission with you, and would look forward to seeing you in the future if that's something that you plan to do. But thank you.
Commissioner Greavy.
Well, let's see. Happy 4th of July to everyone, and let's hope we don't burn anything down in the process. And maybe it should have been first, but I have enjoyed being with you, and if you do choose to come back, you will be welcomed with open arms.
Commissioner Matthews.
One of the things about Commissioner Wardland is that she's always very sensitive to community comments and appreciative of, children and other people that come. I've noticed how often you greet and are concerned with them, and that's a great example for us all. So thank you.
Commissioner Warburton.
I am humbled and overwhelmed by your comments and greatly appreciate it. And I'll be talking with Ms. Shealy and giving her information about what will happen in the future. And I'm just glad to be back, and sorry I wasn't here 2 weeks ago.
Thank you. And I will concur with everybody here. Thank you very much for your service to the community and everything you've done and continue to do and will be doing in the future with other aspects. Happy 4th of July to everybody, and a little bit of PSA. Remember, fireworks are illegal and a zero tolerance in the city of Fairfield. So with that, hope to see everybody out at the 4th of July parade. It'll start at 10 a.m. So with that, we are adjourned until July 9th, most likely July 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you.